Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're totally dismantling what you think you know about cybersecurity, and we're building it back up from scratch for the modern digital age. Look, if you think having a solid password and a thick corporate firewall is enough to keep your organization safe these days, well, I hate to break it to you, but the rules of the game have completely changed. So let me ask you a question. What if the absolute greatest threat to your network is the actual trust you've built into it? Think about it. For decades, we operated on this really dangerous assumption. We figured, hey, if we just keep the bad guys out, everyone inside is inherently trustworthy, right? But what happens when that implicit trust is suddenly weaponized against you? To answer that, just look at this number, 18,000. Back in the massive 2020 SolarWinds attack, 18,000 organizations, I'm talking major global corporations and multiple US federal agencies, were totally compromised. And you know what the truly terrifying part is? The attackers didn't smash through a firewall. They didn't hack their way in through a back door. No, they were literally ushered right through the front door. Why? Because the system implicitly trusted a routine vendor software update. That trust was their ultimate vulnerability. Traditionally, we've relied on what's called a castle and moat security model. You build a massive, thick digital wall around your data center, dig a moat, and just trust everything inside. But today, we live in a world of scattered endpoints. Your applications live up in the cloud, your employees are logging in from kitchen tables, local coffee shops, and airport lounges all over the globe. So the castle walls haven't just been breached, they've been completely blown wide open. All right, here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the fall of the castle, then define exactly what zero trust is. After that, we'll look at the mechanics of zero trust, break down the 5 core pillars, see some real-world zero trust in action, and finally, look at the future of security. Okay, part 1, the fall of the castle. So 3 massive seismic shifts have essentially vaporized that old inside versus outside model. First up is cloud computing. Your critical assets have already left the building. They're hanging out in AWS, Azure, or various SaaS platforms. Second, remote work. You've got millions of personal devices connecting from, let's be honest, totally untrusted home Wi-Fi networks. This basically shattered the physical perimeter into a million little pieces. And third, sophisticated attackers. We are not just dealing with amateur script kiddies in their basements anymore. We are up against nation-states and advanced ransomware syndicates, and they know exactly how to steal credentials and totally bypass those legacy perimeters. Moving on to part 2. What exactly is zero trust? First things first, zero trust is not just a piece of software you can go out and buy. You can't just write a check, tick a box, and say, cool, we have zero trust now. No, it's a security philosophy. It's a whole design paradigm built on one absolutely uncompromising principle. Never trust, always verify. Basically, you stop asking if a user is inside the network. Instead, you're constantly asking, who is this? Is this device actually healthy? Does this specific person need access to this exact file right at this very second? This crucial mindset is summed up perfectly by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. They state, zero trust security models assume that an attacker is present in the environment. I want you to let that sink in for a second. It doesn't say an attacker might be present. It assumes they are already inside your network. You literally have to design your systems with an assume breach mentality. You deny everything by default and only grant the absolute bare minimum privilege someone needs to do a specific task. Part 3. The mechanics of zero trust. Let's actually break down how this architecture processes an access request in literally milliseconds. Imagine a highly secure, top-secret facility. When you ask to get in, step 1 is the policy engine. Think of this as the brilliant security chief sitting in a control room somewhere. They are instantly analyzing your identity, your location, and active threat intelligence to calculate a real-time risk score. Step 2 is the policy administrator, which is basically the communication earpiece. This takes the chief's decision and translates it into a direct order. And finally, step 3 is the policy enforcement point. This is the bouncer at the door. And unlike your friendly neighborhood club bouncer, this guy absolutely does not care if you're on the VIP list. He doesn't think, he just executes the order from the earpiece, allow, deny, or restrict. Every single click, every single request you make goes straight through this bouncer. All right, part 4, the 5 core pillars. The US Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, lays out 5 interdependent pillars you need for a complete zero trust rollout. You got identity, devices, networks, applications and workloads, and finally, the data itself. And here's the catch, you can't just pick and choose one. They are all connected. Maturing one pillar naturally strengthens all the rest. Now let me tell you why that very first pillar, identity, is absolutely crucial. A mind-blowing 72% of data breaches involve exploiting privileged credentials. Identity is the new perimeter. I mean, if an attacker steals a valid username and password, they don't even have to hack your network. They just log in. This is exactly why Zero Trust makes things like phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication and continuous identity verification totally non-negotiable. And this ties right into the network pillar with a really cool concept called micro-segmentation. Look, if an identity does get compromised, we have to limit the blast radius, right? Micro-segmentation takes that single massive castle wall we talked about earlier and replaces it with dozens of individual reinforced doors and secure corridors inside the castle. If an attacker manages to breach one tiny zone, boom, they are trapped there. They can't just casually stroll over to the HR database or the financial records because our Zero Trust bouncer is going to aggressively interrogate every single lateral move they try to make. Which brings us to part 5, real-world Zero Trust. The evolution of this whole framework is honestly incredible. Back in 2009, this massive state-sponsored attack called Operation Aurora hit several major tech companies. Google looked at this and realized, wow, we can't even trust our own internal networks anymore. That realization led them to launch BeyondCorp in 2011, which was basically the world's first large-scale Zero Trust implementation. It actually allowed Google employees to work securely from untrusted public networks without even needing a VPN. Fast forward to 2021, right after the SolarWinds attack, and the US government issued a sweeping executive order mandating Zero Trust across all federal agencies. So we went from a neat Silicon Valley experiment to a literal global governmental mandate. And the financial data proves exactly why everyone is doing this. Organizations that actually implement a Zero Trust architecture save an average of $1.5 million per data breach compared to those who don't. That's huge. Plus, those same organizations see up to a 40% decrease in total security incidents across the board. So it's not just some compliance checklist. It is a massive financial and operational safeguard for your entire business. Finally, part 6, the future of security. We are officially entering a super high-stakes arms race, AI attackers versus AI defenders. The data shows an absolutely staggering 427% year-over-year increase in AI-powered attacks. Adversaries are heavily using machine learning to automate credential stuffing and whip up these hyper-convincing phishing campaigns. But to fight back, Zero Trust relies on AI defenders. These are models that learn the normal behavioral baseline of every single user, and they can trigger automated real-time responses the exact millisecond an anomaly pops up. It's literally machine speed going head-to-head against machine speed. Which leaves us with this final thought. In a world where AI can effortlessly fake your CEO's voice on a phone call, bypass complex CAPTCHAs, and guess nearly any password out there, is your organization ready to trust absolutely nothing? The era of implicit trust is officially over. So the next time you log in, just remember, in the modern digital age, the absolute only way to truly be secure is to never trust and always verify.